Welcome. Thanks for coming to my presentation on candor. We'll be talking today about how to use communication and candid communication, both at home, in your personal life, and at work to your benefit. So what I'd like to do first is just go through a couple of ground rules. Please make sure your phones are off during our presentation. Be considerate. We may be sharing personal stories and funny stories, so we don't want that to leave the room, so please be sure that you're honoring confidentiality, and then be curious. If you have questions or you're not sure how something might work, speak up and ask. So what I'd like you to do first is just kind of go around the room. Brittany, we'll start with you. Just your name and what you do.
My name is Brittany Heckenberg, and I'm a real estate agent.
My name is Courtney Waters, and I'm a high school English teacher.
My name is Scarlett Burney, and I'm a recruiter.
My name is Jill Bardish, and I'm a nurse.
Great, thank you. So our outline for today, I'm going to share two personal stories with you about candor in my life and how they have changed the trajectory of my life. We'll talk about what candor is, how to be candid. I'll give you some helpful tips and tricks on how to be candid with people. We'll actually have an exercise where we'll practice and have a little bit of fun with this, and then just share some final closing thoughts. So in my life, I have had both my husband and a boss be quite candid with me unexpectedly. When my husband and I were dating about 15 years ago, I was sharing a personal story about my father and was complaining about the story, of course, and his response to me was, "When will you stop being a martyr? Stop playing the victim and take some control." And I remember in the moment thinking, this relationship is going nowhere, I'm done. I was completely angry, I was hurt. It took months for me to actually move beyond that comment that he had made and see the benefit of it. And it was that comment, that being very clear with me, not unkind, but being very clear, that had me change how I looked at myself in relation to others. When I felt hurt, taking a stance of what was my part in this and how can I change this versus taking the stance of being a victim. The second story of candor early in my life was with my boss at Arthur Andersen. It was my first job out of college. And I remember thinking, okay, this is a great company. If I work really hard and put my heart and soul into this, I will be here for the rest of my career. And this is where I can make my professional home. One day in a feedback session, she said to me, "Everyone can be replaced, Carrie. You're not indispensable." Totally took me aback. Here I am working long hours, trying to do everything I can to do my job really well. And her feedback to me was, basically, I was putting too much stock in my job and I needed to have priorities outside of work. It's not what I heard initially. What I heard initially was, she thinks I can be replaced, she doesn't want me here. That wasn't what she was trying to tell me. And that was a piece of advice that I have carried with me in every job I have worked in since then. I no longer go into a job thinking, this will be my forever home. I go into a job thinking, okay, how can I make the best impact here and do my best, knowing that if I leave tomorrow, I can be replaced. So those of you who filled out the survey, I appreciate you doing that. These were our responses. So sorry, it's cut off a little bit on the bottom down here. We had feedback that nerves affect our ability to give feedback. We're just too nervous to do it. It's a little bit scary and intimidating. Emotion, both of those had equal responses. I just get too emotional, I'm angry or I'm upset, and I feel like I won't say what I need to say. And then the most responses were related to fear. And this is actually why I often am hesitant to share feedback as well, because we're scared, what are the repercussions going to be? Am I going to hurt someone's feelings? Are they going to not like me after this? Fear of rejection, fear of what will happen as a result. Any other thoughts that have come to mind for you since taking the survey of reasons you may not share feedback or be candid with someone?
Fear was the biggest
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And relational
emotion.
repercussions.
I
and
would
that
say
kind
it
of
was
thing.
rejection.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When we think about candor, a lot of people think, when they think of the word candid or candor, they think of kind of being in your face and aggressive with the communication. And that's not at all what true candor is. True candor is speaking accurately and honestly with care. You're approaching the person you're speaking to in a way that's truthful, but also has a sensitivity to it, that you're really wanting to take their feelings into consideration. situation, and it's coming from a place of help rather than a place of harm. So my favorite acronym when I'm thinking about candor is the word think. So T, when I'm going to share candid feedback with someone, or when I'm going to have a candid conversation, the first thing I want to do is think. Just stop and think, is this truthful? Is what I'm going to share honest? Is it an observation that I've made, or is it a judgment I've made? If it's a judgment, it's couched in a lot of emotion. So the judgment may not be truthful. An observation will be. The next thing I want to think about is it helpful? Is it a lighthouse that's going to point them in a positive direction for their life or for their career? Am I telling them this to help them, or am I just saying this because I've got something I want to get off my chest? Is it insightful? Is this going to help this person grow? And is it something that I recognize in them that they may not see in themselves? Is it necessary? Sometimes there's feedback we want to share, but do we really need to share it? So that has been a point that's really interesting to me, because as I've been trying to be more candid in my relationships, there's this immediate impulse just to always be candid all the time in every situation, but sometimes it's just not necessary. So again, go back to is it helpful? Is it insightful? Is it truthful? And then finally, is it kind? Is it a piece of feedback, or is it a conversation that we're having to help someone, and we're having it in a way that is at a heart level, not a angry level, not a I'm coming after you, but more of a how can I help you with this? Can I be kind and share this in a way that you're willing to receive? When we approach with kindness, it helps to shut down the defenses of the other person, and they're more willing to listen. So a few other hints as you're being candid. Be prompt. It's really hard to be candid with someone if you've waited a week since the incident and then you want to share it. The other piece about being prompt, though, is be prompt with thoughtfulness. So for example, I'm a great example of, and I'm always prompt and I just jump right into giving candid feedback to someone. I often say things I regret later. Sometimes I need a few minutes or even a few hours to really pull my thoughts together, to think about what I need to say, why I want to say it, and then how I want to say it. But going back in a couple of hours is a lot different than going back a few weeks later. Next, be succinct when you're sharing the feedback or when you're being candid with someone. A lot of times our nerves have us go on and on and on and on and on. And we tend to say a lot of things that then kind of dilute the message we're trying to give. You'll often hear people say, oh, do the feedback sandwich, right? A positive, the negative, another positive. I recommend you don't do the feedback sandwich. When we're receiving feedback and when someone's being candid with us, typically the first thing we hear and the last thing we hear are the things we most remember. All the things in the middle kind of just get tossed aside. So if you're couching feedback, if you're sharing with your child or with a patient or with a student or with a client, feedback about, you also want to be clear when you're being candid with someone. So again, going back to that feedback sandwich, don't couch what you're trying to say between a lot of other information. Get right to the point. Be sensitive. Think about how what you're saying is being received, and be sensitive to the emotions someone else may have, knowing that when we're candid, often the initial reaction from someone isn't great. They're going to be shocked, they might be angry, they might be sad, but know that that feedback long-term will help them. Again, feedback from 15 and 20 years ago really changed my life. And then take your time. A lot of times when we're nervous, we rush through whatever it is we want to say, but take your time. When you're sharing something with someone else in candor, it's really important to take your time. Be sure that they hear what you're saying, that they've received it, and that you end the conversation on a positive note. So what I'd like you all to do now is to pair up with someone next to you. There'll be a group of 2 and a group of 3. What I want is for one person to be an A and one person to be a B.
You have body odor.
Yes! So what you need to do is to share with your partner that they have body odor using the things that we've talked about. So you can flip back in your handouts and look at the helpful hints. And I'm going to be taking the camera around and listening to you as you share your feedback.
Oh boy.
You're really gonna make me confused.
Yep. Call me into your office, Brittany.
I know, right? Darn it, I can't use the sandwich technique.
No, you can't. Smell like your lipstick today. No.
Can't
Oh,
do
yeah.
that.
Lipstick sucks in your shoes and you smell.
And you have 2 minutes to get through this. Let's be prompt, ladies.
Okay.
Are we going all at once? Or?
Yeah, you're talking to your partner
Okay.
or partners, and
Hey, Jay.
thank you all for doing that exercise. Funny, but also helpful, right? To kind of get practice out when you're with someone that's a safe audience. So we always say out of the mouths of babes. We have a little video here of Steve Harvey with candid feedback from students for their teachers.
Across the country, meaning teachers not prepared to go home for summer vacation. I got my hands on some of these notes that some of the kids wrote, and one thing is clear: kids are honest. Okay, check out this one. Miss Nunn, you were a good teacher this year, but not my grade. Not even close.
Bye.
Here's one. Miss Stevens, I'm sorry your cat died, but at least you won't smell as dirty as
That's what you should have asked me. Did your cat die?
Cat die.
Smell.
Check this out. Miss Mandy, you can move my seat anywhere, and I will still talk about it. I just will. Now you think about that this summer.
Yes, I love you, Stacey.
I have Stacy in my class.
You are Stacy.
Zing!
Alright, here's one right here. I like you, Miss Klein. If I had to choose between you being killed or me not getting to eat dessert, I'd choose for you not to be killed.
That's
That's
the
a
highest
compliment.
compliment ever.
Y'all need to take this boy's video games. I'm telling you right now, it's too much killing them. And finally, this was a good one. Mr. Michaels, you made second grade fun. I know you will enjoy. Patrick. Y'all need to take this boy's video games. I'm telling you right now, it's too much killing them. And finally, this was a good one. Mr. Michaels, you made second grade fun. I know you will enjoy the bars this summer. Love, Kristen. And then they drew a drink.
Had to add the artwork.
In case there was any question as to what kind of bar.
The fruity drink guy. Any questions, any thoughts around how you've used candor effectively or ineffectively in the past?
I mean, truthfully, like, how would you say to
You have
an
body armor.
employee? Yeah, I mean, really, I just don't
You
think
would just
I
be
could.
truthful.
I had to do that to a Russian
Yeah.
employee
You did?
years ago. I just pulled him aside and I said, "You do great work, but your ability or your inability to come to work having showered and using deodorant, which I know isn't customary for you, but here it is. It's affecting those around you, and other employees are having a hard time wanting to be in meetings with you or sitting in a queue next to you.
Oh, it's tough.
It's not, yeah, it's not easy."
Right.
Truth. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you all so much.